a herb it gets beyond therapeutic stage. So that means that the dosage will not be sufficient to give a therapeutic amount to achieve an action. So that is if it's a leaf. Okay, so if it's a root or berry, or bark, it could last up to 5 years. Herbal teas and extracts are the best ways to take herbs, and that's because they go straight in the bloodstream. So powders or capsules, which often people take, are actually the worst way to get a herb in your body, believe it or not. We'll cover more about that a little later. Herb dosage, because a lot of people ask me how much. Do you know that no one in the United States can prescribe a herb? Did you know that? No doctor, no pharmacist, no chemist, no naturopath, no one. So what we do to get around that is we say, if it were me, I would do this. So if you hear me say that tonight, you know what's going on. Herbs are best used if the cause of the disease is ascertained. And this is really important because, there are over 100 different causes to insomnia. Did you know that? Right? Not just the grandkids that keep you up at night. It could be nutritional deficiencies. It could be tension, muscle tension. It could be hormones. It could be a metabolic problem with sugar regulation. There's just so many things. So if you know what's causing it, then you could be more specific to the herb that could help you. And then herbs are not a substitute for poor lifestyle habits. I can't overstate this enough. If you're living under the golden arches every day and you're taking turmeric root, it's probably not going to pay off too well, you want to have a healthy lifestyle, because then you have less for the herbs to work against. You know what I'm saying? You're causing less inflammation and less distress. And herbs should be used intelligently and in therapeutic levels deemed appropriate for the condition. And then herbs should not be relied upon continually unless they're used for nutritional support. And we call these nutritive herbs. All right, so we'll talk more about that as we go on. So herbal remedies are not a cookie cutter. There's not one size fits all. There's not even one amount fits all. And there's not one herb that works 100% of the time for 100% of people. We are not at the tree of life yet. That being said, I think if we knew how they work, we'd be able to get a much better success rate. And, just from using herbs and seeing results from people using herbs, I'd say between 80 and 90% of the time, people get results to varying degrees. So when I mean results, positive results. Okay, so let's start with insomnia. This affects actually 40% of adults in the United States. Insomnia is categorized as not being able to sleep for 2 hours a night. So you go to bed, you awake 2 hours of the waking night, can't go back to sleep. It could be you're not getting to sleep early or you're getting up too early. Anyone have that problem? You get up too early and your brain can't go back to sleep. So this is what happened to my wife. She can fall asleep, but she can stay asleep. Anyone been so tired you can't sleep? You know that feeling? It seems sort of ironic, isn't it? You're so tired you can't sleep. And that actually happened to my wife. And one of the reasons for that is because you're low in electrolytes. Now, electrolytes are the minerals that power the nervous system. And just like when we get stressed, we lose B vitamins, we also lose minerals. And some of these minerals are electrolytes. And so what happens is when you've lost too many, your nerves become in a state of hypersensitivity and they can't rest. And the sensory nerve tracts that connect to the sleep centers of your frontal lobe can't switch on. And so that means that you're very susceptible to stimuli through the sensory nerve tracts, whether it be sound or light or smells, touch, whatever it is. And this amplifies the stimuli through the nerves so you can't actually switch on the sleep centers. So one remedy that we found for this is a herb called oat straw. Anyone heard of oat straw? Yeah. OATSTRAW, also known as Avena sativa if you want the botanical name. They used to feed this to stallions, they still do, and it gives them energy, helps their coat shine, increases virility because it's high minerals. And so this is how it works. Our soils are getting more and more deficient in minerals, right? especially the micro minerals. I used to work 30 years ago at a fruit orchard in Australia, and what you feed back to the soil is nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Those three, but all the rest get depleted, and they don't get put back into the soil. And so these minerals, or lack thereof, affect our bodily functions over time. And so that can affect insomnia. Stress is another one. Muscle tension, hormonal changes, especially ladies. Ladies have more insomnia than men because of hormonal changes in their midlife. And so things that can help with that are things that can help modulate estrogen. Now, progesterone sometimes plays a part in helping, well, in causing insomnia, but usually it's a drop in estrogen. All right. And so you use herbs that will help build up the estrogen, the natural estrogen, and that can help with that. So some of the best herbs we use for sleep are what we call nervines. It's a category of herbs that help feed the nervous system. And Otrol is one of them. Valerian's another one of them. Skullcap. You heard of these herbs? Yeah. Okay. Good. And another one, if you can't switch the brain off, anyone have that trouble? You know, your brain just keeps racing. There's a good herb called hops. And you probably are familiar with hops, right? This has some negative connotations. They used to think it was the alcohol that made people go to sleep. But when they did studies on it, they found it was actually the hops that put people to sleep more than the alcohol. So get rid of the alcohol, use the hops. It is bitter, just a warning. So, put a peg on your nose or just swallow it very quickly. Now that is the place if you want to put in a capsule. That could work quite well. So that's a few herbs for sleep. Some people use lavender as well. Make sure if you use lavender, it's the right one. There's 400 different types. You want to get Lavandula angustifolia or Lavandula officinalis. That's the botanical name that you want to stick with. And maca root. Anyone tried maca root? It's good for energy. Anyone can use extra energy. Anyone got kids? You sort of covet all their energy and they drain yours, right? Okay. Well, you get revenge. Get some maca root. Okay. And use sedatives on them and stimulants for you. That's how it works, okay? So maca root increases energy. You can mix it with a smoothie. All right, this is one use where you can use the powder. Some people just mix it with water and take it like that. I don't think that's a very good way. But if you put it in a smoothie, maybe a little almond milk or something, it doesn't taste too bad. I'll be honest with you. There's a little earthly sort of taste to it, but mix it with some honey. It's fantastic. But this will help your adrenals. And it will help with modulating cortisol level. It lowers inflammation. It helps with fatigue. It helps actually with muscle fatigue. If a lot of athletes or people, bodybuilders, often use maca root. And it can even help with menopause and certain hormonal situations. So milk thistle, this is really good for the liver. By the way, we have over 100 million adults in the United States have what we call fatty liver disease. Isn't that amazing? And they're not diagnosed. That's about 1/3 of the adult population of the United States. And what causes that? What do you think causes that?
Fast food.
Fast food, yes. It's refined carbohydrates. All right, that get converted to fat because the liver is involved in that. And if the body is not using up enough and it's storing too much, then you can end up with fatty liver. But it is correctable. And that's the good news about it. And if you do have fatty liver, this is a good herb to use. Milk thistle. It's got a chemical called salimarin in there, and it reduces the inflammation to the liver. It reduces the what we call free oxidative stress that takes place, free radical damage, and it can also lower, if you got highly elevated liver enzymes, it can bring those down, and it offers a protective effect to the liver. In fact, if you have poisonous mushrooms and you were taken to the hospital, they would give you a milk thistle IV. That would be the only thing that would save your life. That's how powerful milk thistle is. It's amazing. Anyone identify these berries? Look like olives. Yeah, they actually do. Yes. Okay, see the plant behind it? That's where it comes from. I don't think you have them up here, but they're in Florida. Salt palmetto. That's right. Salt palmetto. And salt palmetto is very good for what? Prostate. That's right. That's right. And 40% of men 50 years and over have prostate issues in the United States. So I think part of the reason, there's multiple reasons for this. Part of the reason is men tend to, and women as well, we tend to, especially if we're working, 75% of jobs out there are sitting down, aren't they, with computers. So for men, it creates a stasis environment with the blood in the pelvic cavity, and that can cause inflammation if that blood is just got nowhere to go. So salt palmetto helps lower the inflammation. If you've got hyperplasia of the prostate, this can shrink it. Actually, it's even they've had studies, lots of studies done on tumors of the prostate, showing how they can help with hyperplasia of the prostate. Yeah, we've used this for people that have problems with all kinds of things, from erectile dysfunction to urination at night. And there's a ton of studies out there. In fact, most of the studies that are done on the most common herbs we have, I'll be sharing with you, have hundreds, if not thousands, of clinical studies done on them. It's just that people don't know where to find them. That's the problem. In fact, Europe is way ahead of us in America as far as understanding botanical medicine. Different parts of Europe, like Germany, Switzerland, England, for example, they're heavily into understanding herbal remedies. In fact, if you're in Germany, 70% of the physicians understand herbal remedies, and they prescribe herbal remedies. So this is something that's very common. In India, they're big in herbs. China's big in herbs. A lot of the Asian countries heavily, emphasize the role of herbal medicine. In fact, according to the World Health Organization, there's 4.6 billion people in the world that are using herbs on a regular basis as far as medicine goes. These are what we call adaptogens. Anyone heard of adaptogens before? So adaptogens are herbs that help resist the effects of stress, okay? So how they do that is they modulate the cortisol, right? So, stress causes high amounts of cortisol, and cortisol is good at certain amounts, but if it's prolonged over a long period of time, then it can cause havoc to the immune system. It's a glucocorticoid, so it regulates sugar, and so this is why 20% of diabetics are slim like me, because of stress. Stress keeps the sugar high, okay? Keeps the liver active, keeps the stress hormones there, so sugar is readily available in too high a degree. And so adaptogens are often roots. There's 26 true adaptogens. Most of them are roots. Some are berries. Some, very common to us, like aloe vera and garlic and ginger. And bilberry, which looks like blueberry in the middle there. And these are very effective to lowering your stress levels, modulating cortisol, lowering inflammation, and many of them give you energy. That's how they work. And arthritis. This is very, very common. Rheumatoid arthritis has really taken off the last few decades. And, it was something that we rarely saw, 100, 200 years ago. It was still out there, but it was uncommon compared to where it is today. So these are 3 herbs that you can use to help with the rheumatoid arthritis. So one is turmeric root, another's astragalus root, and the other one there is ginger. Now, turmeric has had more studies done on it than any other herb on the planet. Over 6,000 clinical studies, and it is gold for a reason. Think about it. Some people think the wise man bought Jesus turmeric root. They bought him frankincense and myrrh. Maybe it was turmeric root. It was gold. It was the value of gold, but I don't think it was. But anyway, it was in value as far as physical value goes. It's like worth its weight in gold, because every chronic disease has one thing in common. It's pro-inflammatory. So turmeric is the most powerful anti-inflammatory we know. Now, a lot of people ask me this question, so I'll preempt it right here. Don't you need black pepper if you take turmeric root? because it will help it absorb better. Well, the truth is that black pepper is not needed for turmeric. It's used for the isolate. You remember what the isolate is in turmeric? Curcumin. So when you isolate curcumin, then the liver will degrade it in about 20 minutes. So to prevent that happening, pepper's used because pepper has piperine in it. It's a chemical that suppresses the liver from metabolizing curcumin. So it will clear it. It will stop it clearing out the body in 20 minutes. It will suspend it for a longer period of time. Now, the interesting thing is that black pepper is also a gastric irritant. So if you want to use something instead of black pepper, you don't actually need to use black pepper to get the benefits out of turmeric. You just take it as it is because it has over 5,000 phytochemicals that help balance and modulate its bioavailability and utilization in the body. So you don't need to just isolate one chemical out of it to get an anti-inflammatory effect. But if you want to increase the effect, you could take it with a little cayenne. And believe it or not, cayenne has piperine in it as well, but it doesn't have the gastric irritating effects as black pepper. So astragalus, that's another great herb. It's also very good for the adrenal glands, and it's very powerful for the immune system. We use it in our immune formula. Ginger is another one. Why is ginger so good? Because, and by the way, ginger is the #1 consumed herb on the planet. And it's so good because it increases circulation around the body rapidly. So it's a diaphoretic, will make you sweat. If you have a virus, ginger will help sweat it out. It's a very good herb. It's very good for digestion, and it works very quickly. So ginger is a powerful anti-inflammatory. It's actually a cousin to turmeric. It's part of the same family, and it even has curcumin in the ginger. So turmeric isn't the only one that does that. Anyone suffer headaches or migraines, and you want an alternative to caffeine? Okay. All right, caffeine is a vasoconstrictor, and that's why your headache goes away, because it constricts everything. But if you dilate everything, you can achieve the same effect, because when you get a pressure change from blood vessels that are dilated into small, narrow, constricted blood vessels, then you get an increased pressure that builds up on the vasculature, and that causes the headaches. But if you can dilate everything, you can achieve the same results. So try feverfew. Feverfew dilates the blood vessels, and it won't leave you with a nasty after effect. And it's called feverfew because it used to be used for fevers, especially rheumatic fevers, and it's also very good if you have any pressure buildup in the head that leads to cluster migraines as well. You could try that, and also put some ice on the back of your head. And if you want a little trick for headaches, this is something I learned years ago. It's so simple. You think, sometimes we overlook the simple things. They're so powerful. We think, oh, they can't work. But if you put your feet in hot water, all right, and put ice on the back of your head, it will draw the blood away from the cranial cavity towards the feet. You have little temperature receptors on the side of your ankles, and they will actually dilate the blood vessels in your feet and draw the blood away from the head and ease the headache. So if you do that for like 10, 15 minutes, guarantee your headache will go away. It's just amazing how it works. If you have also hypertension associated with that, you may want to try putting a heat pack on the flanks on your kidneys, because that will engorge the kidneys and it will actually take more of the blood away from your head as well. So that's a little trick you can use. You want to find out anything that could help with the eyes? We have more eye problems now than any other generation. We have a lot of myopia. Why do you think that is? Why could that possibly be? Okay. So here is something that could help. It's not blueberries. It is bilberry. Yes, that's right, bilberry, which is a cousin to blueberry, and same family. Fighter pilots used to use this in World War II when they were rationing jams. They still gave them some bilberry. It was a cheaper alternative, and the fighter pilots found their night vision improved. Even though they had 20/20 vision, they could still see better at night. And they did further studies on this, and they found that yeah, this is actually scientifically validated. So the bilberry is very high in vitamin C. It has tannins that strengthen the capillaries of the eye. It also helps with leaky eyes if you've got any diabetic neuropathy that's affecting the eye, and you've got blood pressure that is rupturing some of the blood vessels. Then you may want to try bilberry because that will tighten, has tannins in there that tighten the little capillaries in the back of the eye and stop it from leaking. It can also help modulate the sugar better as well. So this is very, very good for the eyes. It helps with glaucoma and even cataracts. You know, if you're starting to get some cataracts, you may want to try using some bilberry. Let's move on to the heart. And we're going to look at hypertension, which is one of the most common conditions. And these are three of the top herbs that I recommend for the heart. Turmeric again, because usually there's so much inflammation and plaque buildup. And by the way, one of the best things you can do if you've got plaque in your blood vessels is actually do intermittent fasting. Okay, and the reason for that is because you have these little, what we call mast cells. They're part of the immune system, and they lie dormant in the blood vessels. And one of their jobs is to clean up excess deposits of, cholesterol, and they can also engorge plaque. Okay, so we had a lady when I used to work at the Lifestyle Center. She had one of her major arteries, the carotid artery. It was 90% blocked. And the doctors gave her 3 months to live. Well, she didn't want 3 months to live. She wanted to see her grandkids, for a while. So she followed the program, and she went on 2 meals a day. Went back to the doctor 3 months later, and zero blockage in the heart vessels, completely free of any blockage. She was also on a plant-based diet, and she exercised, and she drank water, and did all those good things. So turmeric is great because it reduces the inflammation that can lead to clotting factors building up, and we don't want to encourage those. Garlic is another excellent one for the heart. Garlic lowers blood pressure. It's also got ethers and mustard oils that can dissolve clots in the body. If you have any clots and you want to try an alternative to rat poison, this is a good one. Okay. And those, you know what I'm talking about? I'm talking about rat poison. This garlic, it thins the blood, and it's fantastic at dissolving clots. Now, you have to have it raw, okay, because the mustard oil, it neutralizes that when you cook it. So you want to have it raw, and we may even have some back there afterwards. I don't know. I didn't check with Jay what's on the menu tonight, but I'm sure garlic is antiviral, it's antibacterial, it's even antifungal, and it's antisocial. So take it with friends, and you'll be just fine. If you want to practice social distancing, take garlic. Okay, works wonders. Then we have hawthorn berry on the right. This is, in my opinion, the most powerful medicine for the heart. It has 3 ACE inhibitors, 3 calcium channel blockers. It helps with nitric oxide. It helps with lowering cholesterol. It increases left myocardial contraction, increases ejection fraction. It's phenomenal at moving the blood through the body. And so hawthorn berry works extremely well for people with hypertension. Now, if it's stress-induced hypertension, you may want to combine it with some holy basil. But nitric oxide is one of the most powerful things to vasodilate your body. It's found in the endothelial cells. When you go and exercise, the endothelial cells that inside the lumen of the blood vessels, they actually produce nitric oxide, and that causes the blood vessels to dilate. So, the best way to bring healing to any part of the body is to improve blood flow, right? That's how the body heals. So life is in the blood. So just getting that blood going is the way to bring health to any part of the body. Ashwagandha. Anyone tried ashwagandha? This is really good for the adrenals. So I see a lot of ladies having thyroid issues. Have you noticed that? How much thyroid is being a problem out there? So it's, the biggest cause to that is the adrenals. So when the adrenals get abused over many years, I'm not talking just, a sudden shock situation, fight or flight situation. I'm talking about years of prolonged stress, right? Year after year, day after day. I mean, that is what causes the adrenals to affect the thyroid. So the adrenals producing high amounts of cortisol, it pulls down the thyroid function, it affects the T3 conversion, and affects the interleukins that mediate between the local tissue and the immune cells of the thyroid. And so this basically causes an autoimmune disease. So the adrenals go first, then the thyroid goes, and then the hormones go, sex hormones go. And then the sleep goes, the weight goes, and the hubby goes. Everything goes. Okay, it goes. So it starts with the adrenals, all right? So get your adrenals sorted out, and you'll have a better time with your thyroid gland. So ashwagandha is good for the thyroid and adrenals. So that's why it's really good. And the rhodiola is another one. Boy, we back at hawthornberry. I'm sorry. Let me move on there. It is worth repeating, though. Hawthorn for the heart. Let's give it a good plug. So cloves. Now, cloves are very good at immunity. They have the highest amounts of antioxidants. They're very good for helping blood sugar. They relieve inflammation, pain. We use this predominantly externally. So we use the clove oil in a salve and put it on topically. If you've got arthritis or joint pain, get some clove oil and massage it in that area, and within minutes, the pain will go away. It's really amazing. It's not as nutritious for you, as good for you, should I say, if you take internally, because it does have what's called eugenol. Eugenol can affect the nerves, and it can also it can suppress the central nervous system. So you don't want to have too much apple pie with cloves. Okay, just not a whole pie. Give me a little sliver. All right, so cloves are good in the right place. Mushrooms. Often people ask me about mushrooms. Are they good for you? I grew up hating mushrooms, so I have no bone to pick or fight to fight with mushrooms. If you like them, fine. There are some good mushrooms. There's 3,000 different kinds of mushrooms. There's 700 edible mushrooms. There's a few dozen good, highly medicinal mushrooms. But the good news is, if you don't like mushrooms, there's nothing in a mushroom you can't get from somewhere else. So that's the good news about it. But reishi, lion's mane, shiitake, those are three of my top favorite for as nutritional value goes. Some people use them if they get certain types of cancer, building up their immunity, and they've got immune-enhancing properties in them, and lots of minerals, by the way. About cinnamon, this often comes up. There's two different kinds of cinnamon. There's cassia and there's Ceylon. Ceylon, in my opinion, is better than cassia. Cassia is more irritating to the gastric mucosa, so you're going to make some nice cinnamon pies or buns. Take some Ceylon, and it's really good, and it's very good for helping regulate blood sugar. I mentioned this in passing before. Rhodiola, that's another adaptogen, very good for the adrenals and the thyroid. Helps with energy production and also muscle recovery. A lot of athletes use rhodiola, by the way, just to recover and give them stamina. Also, if they're going into a marathon, it can also help. Also with the amount of time it takes for the muscles to recover, and it's also very good for the immune system as well. It's actually one of the best herbs for mental stress. If you get a lot of mental stress accompanied with physical stress, rhodiola is one of the best ones to use. And this is, anyone tell me what this is? Some of you don't like this in your backyard. Nettle, that's right, nettle. It's stinging nettle. So stinging nettle is very high in stings. Yeah, so you put your hand in there, it's going to give you a bit of a sting. It's got some formic acid, serotonin, and acetylcholine on the end of those little barbs there. But I know a herbalist, he gets this. He's got rheumatoid arthritis, and he gets one of these leaves, and he just hits his knee with it and takes away the pain. He gets a little sting initially, but then his pain goes away. But nettle is very high in iron. So it's very good for ladies with anemia. And it's very high in minerals, especially vitamin A, C, and E. It's also got B and D. It's got P as well, and K as well. And it's loaded with minerals. And it's in a rare category of herbs called tropho-restorative, means it helps every body system. So it's highly packed in nutrition. Actually, it's the most nutritious herb on the planet today. Like, it's the closest thing we have to the tree of life. Okay, so nettle is very good for the kidneys. It's good for the liver, and generally anything that's good for the liver is good for the kidneys. Right, just as a general rule. And then it's also very good for the skin. It's I mentioned before how if you put your hand in, it will sting you, but if you actually cook it and drink the juice, it will take away the sting it caused you, because it will release natural antihistamines. So nettle is very high in antihistamines, and it's the number one herb for allergies. If you have seasonal allergies, just take nettle. Within 2 hours, 90% of the time, the allergies go away. So this is an excellent one to use for that. Also, you can use it if I came across this by accident. I wasn't planning to use it for this, but we found that people's hair grew very well using nettle. Now, I'm not saying go and rub it in your hair. Okay, you have to take this as a tea, or you can take it as an extract, or you can cook it, make it part of your salad. But it's very good source of biotin, which is very good for the hair. So we've had people completely bald whose hairs grew all the way back just using nettle, and we also combine it with some ashwagandha and rhodiola. Yeah. So, and the reason for that is because the primary sources of hair loss, besides stress and having kids and growing old, is hormonal changes and nutritional deficiencies. So there are other causes of hair loss. Some ladies, they pull their hair, they stretch it, and they tighten it so hard, it permanently damages the hair beds, and their hair is never the same after that. So there are some chemicals that can adversely affect the hair as well. But if it's hormones, stress hormones, sex hormones, or nutrition, nettle can be an excellent herb to use for hair growth. I remember one time this was in the early days when I was just figuring out what this does. I was talking about it with hair growth, and I was speaking at this church down in Georgia, and one of the men, he looked at me, he said, "Will it work for me?" And a big smile on his face because he was completely bald. And I said, "Look, I've never tried it on anyone bald. I don't know." But that week, I got a call from a truck driver. He'd been taking it for at least several months, and he wanted to order some more. And I said, "How's it going for you?" He said, "Oh, it's great." He said, "My hair is growing back." I said, What was it like before?" He said, "I was completely bald." I said, "Can you send me a before and after picture?" He just sent me an after picture. He looked like Einstein. His hair was just spiking out everywhere. I said, "You better stop taking that stuff." But he had a little bit of thinning still. He wanted to grow out. But anyway, since then we've had a lot of people use it. It's probably our number one best rated product on our website is our herbal formula. We don't pay anyone to put reviews on our websites. We don't have bots that type things on our website. It's all genuine. We don't solicit them. And so if you want to look at what people are finding with it, You can go on our website. Okay, I talked about that before, didn't I? Okay, oat straw. Oat straw is the one I mentioned about sleep. I do want to highlight how good it is for energy and stress and depression, anxiety, panic attacks, ADHD. We thought our son had ADHD when we were growing up. He was bouncing off the walls. He was just so hyperactive. And so I would give him oat straw, and a few minutes later, I'd say, "Hey, John, well, you're not so full of energy anymore." But this is really good for calming the nerves. That's what it's good for. And it's also good for brain fog if you have attention deficit disorders. It's very good for that as well. And it lifts serotonin levels. So it's an excellent one for people who have some depression. They're dealing with mild to moderate depression. This is, boy, I can't believe the time here. Okay, I was going to leave some questions here, so I got to talk faster. All right, so this is camu, one of the high sources of vitamin C. You can get this from Amazon. It's from the Amazon, but you can buy it from Amazon. From the Amazon. Okay, all right. So yeah, it's got more vitamin C in 1 teaspoon than a whole bag of oranges. All right, and most vitamin C you get from the store is genetically modified, by the way. It's from GMO corn. Be careful where you get your vitamins from because they're usually synthetic, and if they don't source where they're from, that's a problem. Could be from a rock or something. I'm going to skip turmeric. This is my number one emergency herb. It's cayenne. Cayenne you want to have on hand. It can save a life. Heart attacks, strokes, internal hemorrhaging. In fact, paramedics are using it for hemorrhaging. Yeah, it was first actually used by a paramedic that came to a scene of a man that had his arm amputated. It was an accident. He didn't amputate himself, but his friend put some cayenne pepper on his stump that was left, and they berated him and gave him a really hard time. But they took him off to the hospital, rang a friend back later, said, "You saved his life." Because the cayenne, it cauterizes damaged blood vessels, but it won't cauterize healthy blood vessels. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, it's really good stuff. I remember I was in a plane coming from America. I was flying to Japan and had this little salve with me. These flights, are 13-hour flights, you start getting a bit cool after a while, cold feet. So I had cold feet, so I put some salve on my feet. I didn't feel anything for about 20 minutes, so I thought it wasn't working too well. So I put some more on, and I thought, well, after 20 minutes it should be working, but it wasn't working. So I thought, well, maybe it's old. Let me try some more. So I covered all my feet. I didn't realize at the time that it was sweating that activates the heat properties, right? So when I started walking, that's when I found out I was firewalking. my foot in a water fountain in Narita Airport, trying to cool it down. He took my skin off my foot the next day. So be careful about cayenne. You don't put it in your eyes, in your nose, and sensitive parts of the body. You don't use cayenne soap unless you want to run a marathon. Okay, but it's very good for bleeding. It's very good. It can save your life because even if your heart stops, it will still cause the capillary beds to recoil. It will still increase peristalsis. It may give you a few extra minutes for the paramedics to get to you. In fact, I had a lady call me not too long ago. She said, I had a heart attack, and I remember what you said about cayenne. I tried some cayenne. By the time the paramedics came, I didn't need the service. And so, because it's such a good dilator. So if there's some constriction in the blood vessels, it can actually work the blood around that constriction in many cases. So that's your number one go-to herb for emergency medicine is cayenne pepper. And then we have chlorella. This is excellent for heavy metals. If you want to take heavy metals out of your body, use some chlorella. Another one is the cilantro. cilantro. They're fantastic for chelation. They're the best herbs you can use for chelation. I've had people spend thousands of dollars. Well, I didn't send them to spend $1,000, but they already spent $1,000 getting chelation therapy in a clinic, and they try the chlorella cilantro, and they're back to normal. It's just amazing. We already talked about bilberry. Dandelion root. This is an excellent herb that was actually. Do you know where it came from? Dandelion came from England. It's brought over by ships like the Mayflower to remind them of their homeland. But dandelion is one of the best herbs for digestion. It's really fantastic for that. Boy, I didn't realize how many slides I had left. Man, okay. Irish moss, yes, for a bunch of minerals. 92 out of the body's 102 minerals, okay, you can get from Irish moss. Phenomenal. Okay, this is, comfrey. Now, if you're a little bit wheezy with open wounds, you may want to look away right now. But I'm going to show you a wound picture. So this is a gentleman that he was a diabetic type 2, and I was afraid he was going to go septic. He sent me a picture of this leg on the left here. I told him what to do. This is the same leg on the right as the left a few weeks later. So you can see it's in the process of healing. We told him to use comfrey. Okay, first you had to sterilize the wound, make sure it was completely sterilized, no bacterial contamination, and then use the comfrey. And I think it really saved his life, because that leg was very easily going to be septic. Diabetes. Okay, I'm going to have to go through these really quick here. Juniper berries. Do you know juniper berries are very good for diabetes? In fact, we've even had some good results on diabetes type 1. I'm not saying go off your insulin. I'm not saying that at all. But we've seen tremendous results with using juniper berries. Oh boy, haven't got time to go. This will take me a whole hour to go through this. But let's save that for the next lecture. Okay. All right. Cedar berries and diabetes. Oh boy. I see my clock's running down here. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll just race through some of these. Anyone know what this guy is called? Close. Okay, he was a runaway prophet. He had depression. He ran away from a lady who had hormonal issues. Anyone remember? Elijah, thank you. Okay. All right. So, anyone remember he was under a tree? What the tree was called? Juniper tree. Okay, juniper tree. Wow. Why? Look, he had depression, didn't he? And he was running nonstop. Can you believe that? Running nonstop. Do you know what the juniper leaves are good for? They're good for depression. The smell, the aromatic oil of the leaf is good for depression, and the berries are good for the kidneys. If you're running, you want to take the berries. So God put him just where he needed to, and he didn't even eat the berries. Can you believe that? Yes, but he just needed to get away from this woman. Not this woman, no. So it was like this woman. Okay. We covered hair loss. We covered failure. Let's continue here. Lungwort. This is the best herb for lungs. If you got COPD conditions, use lungwort. It's amazing. I've seen people on death's door, just about to get intubated, and taking lungwort. It's amazing stuff. It's a bronchodilator. It activates the ciliary blanket conveyor belt that takes the debris out. It's amazing stuff. We haven't got time to go into herbs for cancers. Maybe next time. We're gonna have some Q&A time. So we got 10 minutes of some Q&A. Is that right?
Would you come back?
Yeah, I'll come back if they'll have me. I don't know if they'll have me. I may have to be a runaway prophet.
So first of all, you need to address the rat poison.
The rat poison.
Explain the rat poison.
Oh, okay. Okay, so warfarin is a blood thinner that's often used for people who are susceptible for clotting, and so that's what I meant by rat poison. It's actually is from rat poison, and it hemolyzes the blood cells. That's how the rats die. They bleed to death internally. So
what's that you recommended instead of the rat poison?
So who can remember?
Blood thinner.
For blood thinner. Garlic. Yes, garlic. That's right. Thank you. All right.
Go ahead. Take
yes.
The question.
So
we need to clear up the rat poison thing.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. So now we've got to the good bit.
You mentioned the smoothie in it.
The smoothie. Yes.
And I'm wondering about people who put like 20 different powders in a smoothie.
Yeah.
Does the body actually assimilate it?
Does it assimilate it? It depends. If they're in the same category, it shouldn't be a problem. But I mean, if you're getting too much complexity, like you're throwing lots of veggies, lots of fruits, lots of grains, lots of roots, and all this type of thing, it can become harder. Okay, especially if you have weak digestion. But generally, it's not an issue. In fact, the herbs that we're talking about, you can have them together; they don't cause a problem. It's more the herb-drug interaction. So I'll just state this. If you're in a critical situation with a medication, using a medication to stabilize you in a critical situation, don't take a herb with that medication at the same time. So a few more questions? Yes, sir.
To piggyback on that really quick.
Yes.
I'm guessing that the jumbo bags of like ginger and turmeric from Costco like last 3 years.
From Costco, yes, yeah. Well, you know, this. I deleted one of my slides, and it showed you how you're not even getting some of the original ingredients in some of these products from these big box stores. Like, for example, Walmart. Okay, they did a study on. They analyzed different supplements, herbal supplements, and they found that 96% of the time they didn't have the original ingredients that were listed on the label. So this is, so if you're going to use herbs, either grow them, get them from people that grow them, whether it be local, or if you want a good supplier, I buy my herbs from Mountain Rose Herbs. They're the best organic herbal business in the country, and they do an excellent job. So it's called Mountain Rose Herbs, and the other one is Star Wars Botanicals. Is another excellent one, I think. Mountain Rose, like the flower rose herbs. That's in Oregon. Yeah. All the big herb companies on the west. Yes, sir. Okay. Yeah.
But secondly, I've fallen in lots of metal patches in England.
Yeah. Yeah, they're in the U.S. Yeah. They can grow in most parts of the United States. Yeah, it just needs good moist soil. They like a little bit of shade, and they can handle some sun, but a lot of shade. But yeah, they'll grow. I'd say probably 89% of the country can grow nettle.
How much turmeric?
Yeah. Oh, turmeric. Sorry. Yes. So with the turmeric, it depends. So a standard dosage is what they give in a lot of hospitals and lifestyle centers is a teaspoon a day is powder. Okay. But our therapeutic dose that we use is a lot less than other places. Like Germany, for example, they recommend 3 times the amount. All right. So it depends. It also depends on the age of the turmeric. And most turmeric that you get from the store has lead in it, 99% turmeric you buy, because they use lead in the dye that they color the turmeric. So turmeric loses its color, as a lot of herbs do. So to make it nice and bright and attractive, they'll basically, it's like painting the turmeric. So make sure you know where your sources are coming from. Yes, sir.
What's the best way to take salt?
Salt palmetto? The best way is a tea or an extract, because it'll go straight in the bloodstream. Yes. Yes, ma'am. Some of the amounts of different things. Yeah, that's a good question. I would use the Herbal Book of Healing by Phyllis Bauk. Phyllis Bauk, Phyllis. Yeah, that can give you, it gives you guidelines, but it can't be too specific because dosages depend on age. It depends on, well, actually mostly on weight than age, and then also it depends on the condition and the severity of the condition and the sensitivity of the person to the herbs. So some people are very sensitive to. If you're sensitive to drugs, often you're sensitive to herbs as well. So you got to come back, start on a lower dose. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, well, the reason the iron is not absorbed so well as we get older is because you need good digestion. So we tend to have low amounts of hydrochloric acid as we get older, and the hydrochloric acid, it cleaves the iron off the protein. So if you've got poor digestion as a lady, you'll often have poor iron absorption. And so the way to help correct that is using bitter herbs. Bitter herbs will stimulate high amounts of hydrochloric acid. And then also, if you take the nettle as an extract, you'll get a 98% absorption rate. It does not require any digestion at all. So that's a good thing about it.
I just recently myself.
Right. Right. Yes. Right. I'll tell you what, come see me after because I'll have to ask some more questions. So
one more question, and I want you to talk about something specific, and then we need to.
Yeah, sure. Okay, yes. Cholesterol. Yes. How to lower cholesterol?
High, and it's hereditary.
Hereditary? Yes.
So I'm trying to avoid.
Yes. And understand. I remember my professor of physiology saying, "Choose your grandparents wisely." Anyway, sorry I had to throw that. But so genetics slows the gun. Okay, so lifestyle generally pulls the trigger. So here's the thing about cholesterol. Everything we eat that has a face, a mother, or face, a mother, or liver. That's right. That's the one. You remind me. Thank you. Has cholesterol. Okay. So, now there are some people on a plant-based diet that do have high levels of cholesterol. Why is that? It's most commonly caused by excess stress. So here's the thing. A lot of our stress hormones are using the same building block of cholesterol. So when your stress goes high, then the liver has to ram up the supply of cholesterol. So it goes cholesterol, then pregnenolone, then progesterone, or it can diverge off to cortisol and DHEA. So what that does, when you take statins, it interferes with cholesterol synthesis, and as a natural result of that, it interferes with your sex hormones. Okay, and then it also affects the sugar regulation, and this is why diabetes starts to increase. So if it's caused through stress, then I recommend adaptogen. If it's caused through diet, then there's just sticking on plant-based diet can help lower that. But here's another thing: herbs are not the best way to lower cholesterol. Okay, there are some things that can help lower cholesterol, but what you want to be more concerned about the amount of cholesterol is the ratio of cholesterol. So if you have high cholesterol, so let's say it's 240, but your HDL is 80, and you've got a 1-to-3 ratio, you're fine because the HDL brings back the excess LDL back to the liver for reprocessing. Okay, so it's more of a problem when it doesn't get back to the liver and it's just left on the arterial highways. So if you've got good HDL, that can offset your total cholesterol being high. All right, we'll make this last one, and then we got to.
Okay, so we're going to do a health expo with various when it's a little bit warmer out. We're going to do a health expo at the parking lot where we can do body composition and things like that. We're going to have them do like a 2-hour seminar in here, but it has to be a little bit warmer. So we're thinking like April or May. So just so you know, we're going to do a longer seminar with that. Secondly, he has spoken to my students, and I think you need to tell him he's reluctant to promote his own products. But I want to tell them a couple minutes the uniqueness of the base of your formulas, why it's different than the alcohol-based ones.
Oh, okay.
I think that's important. So they're buying whether from you or somewhere else.
Well, yeah. I mean, you can buy from wherever you want. We don't use alcohol, which predominantly is used, and the reason it's used in the stores is because it has a 5-year shelf life. Glycerin has 2 to 3 years shelf life. It also is 80 to 180% vodka from GMO corn, so we don't mess with that. What we do is we cook the herbs in a cooker for 48 hours, and then we put it under a herbal press, 10,000 pounds of pressure, and that gets everything out. So we don't use any additives, anything like that. We just use organic herbs, use the best we can find, it's had good results. So you told my wife at the back here, she's taken about every single bottle of herbs that we've made. As far as the different, not all of them cumulative, but the different formulas we make, she's very familiar with them, so she's a wealth of information. But
okay,
I hate promoting myself, but I promote the herbs. That you can get them from wherever you want. But
American Herb Shop is the name of the company website. Okay, we're going to eat now. For those that haven't been here before, there's a couple of restrooms if you want to wash up.